Hello. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to
Hello.
have you here.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hi. Welcome to our session of Come Rain, Come Shine. I'm very glad, very thankful for all of you to participate and join in. Let's start off by everybody, I guess, introducing themselves.
Hello,
Yes.
thank you. Very excited to be here. My name is Nadine. I am a voice actor, a player of games, and general enjoyer of things that are nerdy. And I'm very excited to play this game.
Hello.
Hi. It's not my first time on this channel.
No.
I've played before with the Cobalt game. I'm Ymia. I'm an illustrator, an avid dice goblin, and an TTRPG enthusiast.
Hi. I haven't been on this channel before. But yes, my name is Warren. I am an artist / illustrator out of Texas. I am on Twitter. I do commissions, and I am also what you might call a TTRPG enthusiast. I actually made a TTRPG using Tom's system. Yeah, Savage Sands. It's still a work in progress.
And yes, hello, and I'm Tom, also known as Penflower, and I've made the game, which we're going to play. A little, in case somehow somebody's watching this video and they have no idea of what I'm talking about or what I do or anything, and they've managed somehow to avoid me retweeting my stuff on Twitter all the livelong day. Come Rain, Come Shine is a Solarpunk inspired collaborative storytelling / role-playing game about animal folk communities. If you're not super familiar with the Solarpunk movement, I will hopefully be able to include some links to some other videos here on YouTube in the video description. It is essentially a counterculture movement, hence the punk, and it's all about creating a sustainable, equitable future for us and every other, I guess, creature on the planet. Before we start playing, I'll say we've had some kind of group discussions before playing in terms of setup for the game. This would normally be something that could happen during play, I guess, if you were playing in person, but because of course we're playing digitally, it's had to be sort of prioritized a little bit. But the first thing we've done is we've made a bunch of characters, which we can introduce in a little bit. But the first thing that we kind of have our first building block, which is where our Solarpunk community is set. And we had a little group chat before game, and we kind of settled on a sort of mangrove near a tidal pool or a rock pool. So we have a kind of coastal, aquatic kind of situation. So, without further ado, let's build a community.
Let's do it.
We
So
built city.
we built this
We
city.
built this community.
We have a bunch of prompts which are there to help us build a community. We've kind of already answered the first one, which is where is the community located and in what kind of biome or environment. So the next one is what are the community's values beyond those that brought the inhabitants of the community together. So this would be anything beyond the values of Solarpunk that we would like our community to really embrace. There are some examples in the game document. So there's things like artistic expression, sports, science, spirituality, but it can be anything.
I think, well, I don't know whether it's quite already entrenched in Solarpunk, but sustainable buildings, because one of the spoilers, but one of the little characters that I played is quite invested in buildings. And therefore, I think it would be quite nice, especially if this kind of area is both like aquatic based and trees. I think it would be quite interesting to do some like sustainable buildings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it definitely is like linked to the kind of solarpunk ethos of like building with or around nature rather than through it. But yeah, like there is a follow-up prompt which is about like the architecture and the aesthetics of the community, so that can definitely like feed into that. It's like what
Nice.
do the buildings look like where are they, what are they made of, and that kind of thing. I was gonna throw in, just because it's something that I really like and I really admire, is openness and like emotional openness, just that kind of a culture of being like, if somebody is having a problem, they know that there's always someone who can lend an ear or can lend a hand. That's
Something that came into my head was accommodation, like the idea of like accommodation, like being able to accommodate anyone who may or may not decide to who may decide to join the community, and of course to accommodate any changes. I guess adaptability would be the better word. Like
yeah, I was gonna say that.
what I'm
I
imagining,
like that.
what I'm imagining for like the buildings is like, because there's quite a couple of these like animal characters that as a species live underwater most of their life, so maybe there's like different levels, and maybe there's a whole district of houses that are underwater, maybe.
That's
Like
cool.
almost like accessibility for all types when it comes
Accessibility,
to
yes.
accommodation. Yeah.
I'm imagining like the kind of there's the underwater like neighborhood. There's the kind of the underwater section, and maybe there's like tubes and tunnels that are kind of filled with water, and they act like kind of elevators.
And little domes for like underwater too, that the animals that can't breathe like underwater
Yeah,
have like
so it goes
this
both
section
ways.
Like the aquatic animals could, come to the shops or come to the restaurants or whatever it is, and then they could be in the water side, but it's also shared with the dry land side as well.
Does it also go to like the values of trade? Like how do we see trade? Because we have that dual system of like the water and the above ground. Well, the trees mostly, well, and the rock pools. How like the trade system would work for that?
Are you so you're thinking about like exchanging of goods and things like that? Yeah, something that came up when I was like researching Solarpunk that I found really like interesting was they are not like, one of the principles is not that trade would disappear in this kind of idyllic future. It's just that it wouldn't be capitalist because obviously trade existed before capitalism. Trade, I think, is yeah, it's good. Like the exchanging of and sharing of things.
I mean, I love an open trade policy, hell yeah. But one of the characters is a kelp farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea of maybe the kelp farmers helping with the like agriculture, because I know kelp is a really good fertilizer. So so I love the idea of like there being like cool trade between the land and the aquatic side of everything.
Where the fertilizer is kept is where one of the characters I made hangs out.
Nice. Stinky
We
McGee
might
over there.
Yeah, that brings us to the next point. What are the community's traditions and customs, if they have any?
I think it might be interesting because we have this water aspect that everything's kind of worked around, that there could be something around the tides or moon, maybe, because moons
Yeah,
are
I was gonna
often
say that.
very connected with like the water levels and stuff. That there's maybe like festivals around that.
Like a lunar
'Cause I think
festival.
Maybe they float something out onto the water, like flowers or lanterns or something.
A lunar festival, and there's a kind of it's tied to the tide.
Hey.
Nice. I like the idea of because obviously you have the full moon and you also have the new moon. I'm not too like clued up on lunar cycles, but I think new moons don't come as often. Maybe, possibly, I could be making that up. I like the idea of like new moons being like, "Hey, we made it," and everything that went bad could it's fresh. You
Kind
know,
of like a New Year's.
yeah, like a new year, except it's not a new year, it's a new moon, and I think it comes like monthly or whatever. Maybe I'm thinking blue moons that don't come very often. It's probably blue moons. Start afresh type thing. Leave any grievances behind.
Maybe that's what they put on the like little flowers. Maybe they write like their grievances or things on the leaves, and they kind of weave them together, and they make little boats, and then they let them go.
Cute.
I like that.
That could be a
Some
thing.
other town downstream is getting all the grievances.
Yeah. There are some
Like
people
every
over there that really
month,
hate
it's
us.
just-
Because I was thinking maybe they floated out to the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once the tides come in and it's connected to the ocean.
Maybe like the first time they did it, maybe they put them on like a river nearby, and it did end up going into somebody else's. They're like, oh, maybe we should
don't
send
do
them
that
out to
next time.
sea. Yeah, we got some very concerned letters. It's like, are you guys okay? I do also like the aspect of I wanted to like add like that they are written down, because it's like that way of thing, like, okay, those things happened, and I'm writing them down so that I don't necessarily forget about them, but I do kind of let the weight of them go, if that makes sense. It's like it's acknowledging that those things happen, but it's also like saying, okay, now we can let them go. Yeah, so the next prompt is about the aesthetic and the architecture. So basically what it looks like, in that sense, and I guess also the technology level.
Well, I think with it being by the ocean and also intertidal, I'm sure that there could be a lot of hydropower. I also think mangroves are quite windy, like they funnel a lot of wind. Could also be making that up. But I think it would be very cool to have some like hydropower, and you know how the Romans used to have like higher up water, and therefore they could use gravity and viaducts to make fountains and things like that. So I think some really cool, ingenious uses of water would definitely be prevalent.
I'm just writing down ingenious use of water because I like that. Got water jets
We've
everywhere.
already
It's
said there's like
fantastic.
tubes and domes that take people places. I really like the idea of that kind of like quick travel. It's like instead of taking the train, just take the water slide. I don't know if you've seen in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, there's a really ingenious use of wind, using the buildings themselves to cool down the area. So I feel like the trees could have certain, because I'm also kind of like smashing it together with, there's like a certain tree, I think it's like an acacia plant or something, that allows the ants to use it as like a little colony. So they burrow into the tree, not enough to kill it, but it helps the tree, and the tree protects the ants. So I really like the idea of there being like intricate holes and passageways throughout the trees, and those holes then being used as like a drafting system that keeps the place cool and ventilated.
The technology level, then, is it low tech, or are we kind of bordering on like modern?
I feel like it's one of those ones where it would be a nice balance between having enough technology, like if you have the hydropower, then you would have electricity if you need it, but then you don't need aircon. You wouldn't need aircon because of the kind of the more primitive systems, but you know, they're not primitive, they just work. So you wouldn't need that kind of technology, I suppose. So it's like a midpoint, maybe, is what I would suggest.
Yeah, I liked the idea from yesterday where we use kind of like the scraps that the ocean gives us to build and hybridize.
I like that.
When I was making one of the characters for the character pool, this character uses a prosthetic limb, and I was trying to think of like what it could be made of, based on like what kind of animal they are and what they would need that limb for. What would make most sense for them to make it out of, and I immediately went to wire cutters because this character's a hermit crab.
Nice.
And so that one of their claws is like a little wire cutter thing. So I started thinking the technology is all like super functional and really kind of solarpunky in design. So it's efficient, it's sustainable, but it's just made of junk that other people have thrown away.
I love it.
Eco Mad Max. I like it. That's what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
Sustainable Max.
I think that sounds, yes.
Floating houses?
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Or either that or like the kind of houses that are like on almost on stilts. Like in case like the flood ready houses. I like to think some of them might be boats. Like that's just how they came here. They just came there on their boat and then just sort of hooked it to the ever growing mass of floating houses.
Like
yeah,
in rafts, I think they do something similar where you can like put boats together and make like little islands like that.
That's great. We've covered that. There were, I guess, two things that are in this prompt. I don't necessarily know if they would be kind of an issue with the animal folk that we've created so far. Well, actually, I've just remembered one of Warren's characters, and this could be really fun. How do we want to play with size? Do we want big animals, really big animals, to still be really big? Or would we prefer it to be sort of just like a tall human and a short human, that kind of thing?
Well, I think if one of our core values is that we make it accessible for everyone, then we make it accessible for everyone. It's just going to have to be a very big building to accommodate the whales that come and see us.
Yeah. Like just judging from the rock pool pictures that I'm looking up, a whale's not fitting in there.
No.
No.
Maybe a lot of like the permanent stuff for the smaller creatures could be closer to the rock pools. But like in the end, rock pools are right next to the ocean. So, you know, just dig an area for the large folk.
I'm glad we're addressing
this
now because the whale was the one I wanted to play.
And yeah, another sort of accommodation thing, which we can decide to address it. We can also hand wave it away. Is the question of like diet, because we might have. I'm not sure. It felt like most of the animals we've picked are kind of omnivorous. Might not be a problem. But I guess in case there were like any obligate carnivores, did we want to think of some way of like working around that? Like, is there an alternative food source for anybody who's built that way?
Maybe with our technology, because I feel like if you're a carnivore, you should be able to eat. But perhaps fish are friends, not food type vibe. Maybe with the technology, they could have created something that is carnivore friendly.
Maybe we found like a type of seaweed or something that for some reason is very rich in protein.
Yep.
It's got lots of natural like proteins in it, and we just kind of worked on that, and now there's like a cool burger, a cool kelp burger that
Mhm.
that can satisfy the
It's called
if
the
there are any, 'cause
Impossible Burger. I'm sorry.
that's brilliant.
I'll put myself out.
Yeah, I think that's all of the prompts. I guess the next stuff is less narrative and more mechanical. So
Mhm.
we can get into that in a sec. In terms of like the community name, is that something that we want to do last? Because I know like for characters sometimes it makes sense to come up with a concept first and then name them. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to name it later.
Okay. So the mechanical stuff is there's not a lot to work out, but the thing about Come Rain Come Shine is that we will have a choice to role play both as the characters that we've created and that we will be sharing within a character pool. But also we will have the opportunity to play as the community as a whole, which means that we have our own community stats, just like as you would for a singular character. The way that these are determined are by rolling some d6 dice. We'll be rolling 8d6 in total, but we split them up amongst us. There are 4 of us, so we can all each roll 2d6 and then I guess tell each other what our results are. If you don't have any physical dice, I mean, shame on you. No, obviously not. I rescind that. Absolutely no shaming.
Disclaimer.
If you don't have any,
All the shame.
no shame. You can use your phone or something like that that can access the internet, and you can tell your search engine of choice roll 2d6 and it should do it. And if it doesn't, then it's just mean.
I got a 2 and a 4.
I got a 2 and a 3.
I also rolled 2 and a 4, so I also rolled 6. Ymia?
Got a 4 and a 1.
Okay, so we have, oh gosh, that's really good for my math struggling brain. So we have 5 and 5 is 10, 6 and 6 is 12, 22.
Beautiful.
22 points. And what we do with these points, which in the game are called energy points, because they're basically the energy that we as a community put into the things we do. We spread that out across our 4 community stats. Those stats are
Knowledge, cooperation, adaptability, and resilience.
exactly, yes. Let's see if I can actually find the bit where I explained what they cover. I mean, I guess they're fairly self-explanatory. Knowledge represents any commonly shared information within the community. Resilience represents the community's ability to weather calamities. Adaptability represents the community's flexibility and ability to change. And cooperation represents the community's sense of unity and fellowship. So based on like our values, and everything that we've sort of gone over so far, I'm feeling that probably the highest stat would be adaptability.
I agree. I'd say maybe I feel like 8 is pretty good, like a high stat. So if we've got an 8 in adaptability, we've still got 14 to play with.
Right.
What was the other one that you
Okay.
said was you thought was going to be high, Warren?
Resilience.
Mm-hmm. Like the same as adaptability, or maybe a little bit lower.
Maybe a little bit lower because if that was also 8, that wouldn't leave us much for the other 2.
Maybe a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too easy. So we have. I can't count.
To recap, we have 8 in adaptability, we have 6 in resilience, and we have 8 points left to play with. Is that correct?
Yeah. Should we just go 4-4, or do you want to take one from adaptability down to 7 to give like a 5-4?
I'm okay with 4-4, but I like round numbers, so I have a bias.
Yeah, that works.
Cool.
Yeah.
4-4.
Excellent. So those are the community stats that we have. This is exactly the same for characters as well, but I'll explain it now, just because so it's not repeated later. Whenever we, as a community or as a character, want to perform an action in game, we can spend points from these stat pools, and we choose the pool that we're going to spend points from based on what kind of action we want to do. So in the case of our community, if it was something that required our community's adaptability, we would spend points from that. If it was something that required a lot of cooperation, we would spend from that pool. If we don't want to spend points, or if we have run out of energy points from a stat pool, we also have the option to test our luck, which is the sort of more traditional RPG thing of letting chance be the decider. And one of us will roll 1d6, and it's 50-50. If it's a 1, 2, or 3, it's a failure. If it's a 4, 5, or 6, it is a success. So we get to decide when we want to be successful or when we want to leave it up to luck. Because when we spend those points, we are spending them on success. So we're spending the points and we're guaranteeing that our action is successful. The difference being that how much we spend will determine how successful exactly our action is. Sometimes it could be a mixed success. It could have some side effects, or it could have even some negative consequences, depending on how much we spend. The next thing for us to determine are the existing structures and goals. So existing structures are essentially just anything that we feel our community already has, aside from like housing. So just anything like beyond the buildings that our characters live in, what kind of important structures do we have? We can start the game with up to 6. You don't have to have exactly 6, but that's the maximum for now. The reason why we decide this now is because later on in the game, we should be able to acquire additions to our community, which can be anything or anyone we want or need. So if we decide later on that we would like, I don't know, a theater or some kind of like a market square or something like that, that could be a structure that we want to add. Those things that we would like to have in the future would go under the goals section.
I mean, I think we definitely have some form of whether it's communal, or it's probably going to be communal, like a crafting area where like different traders, different people like tinkers and carpenters can kind of come together to work on stuff.
Yeah, like a big workshop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna request there be a coffee house.
Of course.
I like the idea of like one really big rock pool that even the larger folk can come and like peek their heads into, and it's like the center square, or like the center.
Okay.
It's like used for large community events. Maybe it could be the rock pool that is facing the ocean that you can jettison the stuff off for the festival.
Yeah, it could be like a kind of a center square. It's not a square,
An
but like a plaza.
amphitheater, but
thing.
for the
An amphitheater.
but but to the ocean.
Yeah, it's like an amphitheater shaped rock pool. The only thing I was gonna suggest was like writing down something like water mill or water hydro plant thing, hydro
Yeah. Hush Power
What would
Station.
be the
Big water wheel place.
big water wheel for power?
Every time you go up to it, you've got to go, wheel, wheel, wheel. What have we got here?
Hold on, let me write that in the traditions and customs.
Okay, I have a name.
It's like,
Oh,
oh, cool.
Warren's got a name.
Sorry, it just hit me. Run aground.
I like it. Run aground. Very good.
Like ground up coffee beans.
Yep.
And maybe it's on a ship that was literally like run aground.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
That's fantastic. Right. So yeah, at this point, because we have, as I mentioned before, we made our characters before this session. Again, if you are playing the game in person, obviously in a safe environment, because remember it's a pandemic. If you are able to play this in person, then probably like character building could be something that you do alongside the community building. But we have them already. I think rather than necessarily going through, it might be fun for us to go ahead into finding what task we will be taking on, and then see like what characters kind of feel right to us for that task, and then we can introduce them as we go. Does that feel good for everyone?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So I will and go down to the really big roll tables. The way that this works, again, because it's GMless, they will work like scenes in a story. So we'll kind of move through scenes as we go for this task. If you want to role play like as your character, if we decide to use the characters and do character voices and use the first person, things like that, that's absolutely fine. If you prefer a more descriptive approach, like you're narrating, like you're telling a story in the third person, that is also fine. Something else that can happen, should we decide, is that we can complicate things for ourselves. Now, I'm sure some people might be wondering, why on earth in the year of 2022 would anybody in a supposedly escapist role-playing game decide to complicate their life even further? Well, the thing is that by completing tasks, we get tokens that are what we need to acquire those additions to the community that I mentioned earlier. And complications, because they are things that need to be overcome and learned from, will afford us more tokens. Because it's like the idea that you learn by failing, or you learn by sort of coming up with solutions to things that maybe were unexpected. At any point, we can add up to 3 complications during the task. Does anybody want to do the honors and roll the 2d6 to figure out what task we have? It could also be 2 of you who roll 1d6.
I got 4.
I got a 4 as well.
Ooh.
Okay. Here we go. Nadine,
Yes.
you can roll 1d6, and that will determine which table we use.
1.
Okay, so task number 8. Oh my goodness, it's my favorite.
Oh
I
no.
am so happy.
So a neighboring power that has so far never had any dealings with the community has sent a messenger with a formal invitation to a royal gala. The gala is celebrating the recent coronation of a new monarch, and representatives of all neighboring realms, countries, and nations have been invited. The invitation asks for a representative of the community and insinuates that a failure to respond or attend will be considered a grievous offence. Jeez. All right. So there's a couple of things. What does the community know of this power and their customs? Do you reckon this is the the people who got the grievances boats. The first failure that we
Yes.
got. I feel like
that
that's
would be good. Yeah.
what do we know of them apart from the fact that we sent them all of our grievances that one time.
We know they're we know they're a monarchy. Also, like kind of what kind of animal community? Because if these were the ones who got our grievance flower boats, then they would be inland, wouldn't they? They wouldn't be
further in that.
okay. So they might all be kind of land animals.
I also really like, because immediately if we're thinking they're not particularly bad, they're just not great, is what I'm getting the vibe is. I also really like juxtapositioning like what you would stereotype bad as not. So like if they're an armadillo nation, I think that would be very funny, or like something that you wouldn't assume as, you know what I mean? Like you think wolves or predators or
Yeah.
something like that. I just really like the idea of having like a kingdom of mice that are really mean. So
Or like a koala.
I mean, but they are mean, so.
Fair.
I'm liking the armadillo. I'm like it to me that kind of gives it has that kind of cuteness first impression of it being like really cute. But also that they're kind of isolationist because they kind of retreat into their shell kind of thing. So maybe they could be armadillos, but also like tortoises and hedgehogs.
the shell nation. Let's do
The
it.
shell nation. Can also be that like their perceived meanness and quote unquote evilness comes from the fact that they're like this secluded and this like so much focused on self-preservation. So that they don't perceive it as being bad, but it's like it's not so great for the rest of us.
I mean, the prompt sort of says we've had no dealings with them ourselves, and it might be that this is the first time that they're kind of reaching out to the wider world to be like, yeah, okay, we're ready to open our doors this time.
Don't make us forget it.
The next thing is, does the community have a representative? And if so, who are they?
I'm voting Pillbug. Like a little roly-poly bug.
Now this isn't a character that we've made for the pool. So I guess we could sort of co-create them now. Like what's their name? Is it like their full profession? Like it's not, is it something that they've kind of been asked to do once they join the community, or is it something that they've always done?
Maybe they've got like a really booming voice and no one knows where it comes from. And the first time that we like heard them, we were like, whoa, hello. And like all turned to the whale. And the whale was like, it wasn't me. I didn't speak like that.
If Julian the whale just has a really soft, quiet voice, and this tiny pillbug sounds like a firework.
Right.
Like, hello! Hail and well
like
met!
The town crier, 100%.
Town crier. I love that.
It would be that shot of like you turn to Julian and Julian's like, it wasn't me. Thanks. I don't want to, it wasn't me. And then the next shot would be just like a cabinet or something, or like a stool, and then just like little exclamation marks with a tiny dot, and that's the town crier. Like, hello there, it's me.
It's also got like slight plankton vibes as well.
Exactly. Nice plankton.
Do we have a name for this
Plankton?
pillbug? Is a pillbug called Plankton? Peter Langton.
Plankton the pillbug. Yes. Oh, Peter Langton. I like that.
Peter the pillbug.
Lovely.
I love them already. I've just met Peter, but I love him already. So we have Peter Langton, the pillbug town crier, who has been chosen by our fair community to be our representative. During this little impromptu break we just had, we were considering whether or not to send one of our like ready-made characters along with Peter the Pillbug, considering that otherwise the task will be kind of straddling community roleplay and character roleplay. And because Peter is such a character already, because we've all fallen head over heels in love with Peter the Pillbug already, I feel like it would be a disservice to just play him as community as a whole. So maybe we could like have some of our ready-made characters go with him. And if that is the case, who do we want to send?
Yes, Julian would definitely want to go because, like I said, he's as a poet, he's a particularly like very like purple prose, verbose, elegant poet. So he's very he's into the finer things, and he's willing to, and he's a everybody in this community has probably seen his work, and he's eager to show it off to some new faces. Dr. Land, however, would definitely see this as a business opportunity. I think I might go with Dr. Land though.
Okay.
Because they might be more fun to roleplay.
Okay. So we've. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Dr. Land?
Yes, Dr. Land. Dr. Land goes by he, they. They are an Olm. And for those who don't know what an Olm is, just imagine a noodly axolotl with no eyes. And they are also a perfumer. They make and sell perfumes. I felt this went well with like Olm's naturally heightened senses of smell. Well, okay, well they have eyes, but they're permanently severely underdeveloped. Like, so there's just two little nubbins where the eyes should be. But yeah, Dr. Land, not an actual doctor. They left the cave. They left the caves to see what other smells there were in the world. They also act very eerie and like sly, like they always have some sort of ulterior motive. That's just how they behave naturally.
If Dr. Land and their collection of pleasant scents and smells is coming, then I think it's only fair that I should volunteer my beautiful stink bird, also known as Moira. Moira the Hoatzin, excuse my mangled pronunciation. Hoatzins are also called stink birds or skunk birds. They are very, in my opinion, very beautiful rooster-like birds. The reason why they're called stink birds is because they are ruminants, and so they only eat vegetation and leaves, which leads to a very intense digestive process, which unfortunately also means that they smell a bit pongy. They smell like manure, apparently, which doesn't make them the most popular birds. Moira, on the other hand, she's a herbalist. Really escaped her notice that the smells that people mention when she's around aren't coming from her concoctions. It might be that nobody has had the heart to tell her this yet, but she's traveled a lot. She's very like a very optimistic person. I basically just modeled her on Kiki from Kiki's delivery service. So she just wants to do a really good job. She wants to meet people, but unfortunately, she just plain stinks. Mechanic wise, there isn't. When we made our characters, when we were choosing what animals we wanted to play, we chose from a list of traits and abilities that come with the game. I had to come up with a stench trait because I hadn't prepared one from the game, foolishly. So she has a stench trait, which basically means that her sociability, which is one of the stats we have as characters, is always going to be at a disadvantage. So when she tries to do something sociable, it will cost more points, and it will also be less likely for success when I roll a die.
If no one's told her yet, Dr. Lin definitely wants to tell her very, 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 very badly.
Excellent.
Well, the only one that I can kind of think would fit is Puyo, because he's more younger and a little bit more out there. Puyo is a coati, which is in Dutch it translates to nose bear, which is which they
love
are part of the raccoon family, despite having bear in their name in Dutch. They live in South America. They have these really long tails and really long noses. Only their noses are kind of very sensitive to things like smells and stuff. Despite having a long tail, they're not prehensile. But they are excellent climbers in things like forests and stuff. Puyo himself is part of a large family. He's the youngest of 8. And their entire family kind of works with building the structures of the community.
Lovely. And Nadine?
I think I'm going to go with Summersby. Summersby is a heron, specifically a boat-billed heron. And the only way that I can describe a boat-billed heron is Doc Brown from Back to the Future. if he had like jet black hair and was a bird. It just has this massive plumage of black feathers that are very kind of just everywhere. And big round black eyes and a very thick, wide, scoopy bill. But they're classic, like long heron legs. So looks very funny wading through the water. So Summersby is from a lineage of very proud inspectors of things, just things in general. The Zbee family, that's right. Whilst one word, Summersby, is their name, the Zbee is
Untenable.
like a suffix. So Dunsby is one of the siblings. Ormsby, Remsby. I'm just putting things in front of Sby.
Frisbee?
Frisbee. So Summersby is a building surveyor. So they have a little horn, like a hearing horn that they put against all the buildings, and then they tap the building to hear if it is sound, if it is in good working condition, or if it needs repairs or building upon or whatever it is. But yes, they're very good at appraising things. He wants to come for the ride, so
I
they're
like
coming.
this. They're all characters that would want to go. It's just for different reasons. And I like that a lot. I like this like business opportunity to meet people, look at buildings, inspect the
Summersby
buildings.
needs to inspect things.
At this point, we would play out the task, and as I mentioned earlier, we kind of go through some stages of the task, which they're not like kind of rigidly set, but to give you like a very quick summary, it's like introduction, making a plan, carrying out the plan, and resolution. It might be that some tasks don't necessarily require a plan, quote unquote, but the general idea is that it's like, okay, let's plan what we're going to do. So the first scene being introduction would be our characters deciding to join Pete on the thing, on this mission, on this very important
journey.
diplomatic mission. But I guess it could also be like what preparations I guess our characters have made for going to this royal gala.
First of all, do we know what a gala is? Because do we know that these kind of events are like where you dress nicely or something? Do we understand that?
Moira only has a very vague idea. I've read about it in storybooks and things like that, but I've never been to one. Am I supposed to dress up nicely? Is that how it's supposed to work? Should I have brought something nice to wear? I feel a bit silly now. I'm Welsh,
Yeah.
by the way.
I feel like Summersby probably read about it in a book, but has never attended a gala. Don't be silly, Moira. Of course you need to come in fancy dress, but your plumage is fancy dress enough.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. But she's kind of like fluffing herself up a little bit.
I think Summersby's still a little bit too close, so in the fluffing, a waft.
Oh, no.
And kind of like, what's over there? And like flies out for a little bit.
Dr. Land would probably chime in and say, I've been to my fair share of galas myself. You definitely want to look your best if you want to establish any connections. After all, the best form of advertising is word of mouth.
Oh. Oh, really? Oh, is that why you're wearing your nice hat?
Oh, no, that's unrelated.
Oh, it's very nice though. I really like it. It suits you.
Thank you. Yes, that's why I picked it.
So there's definitely two of us who are like well dressed, and like know the score. Moira isn't, but she's fluffed herself up. What about Puyo? Is
I mean, I got some nice overalls I can put on, but that's it. Can't promise there's no sawdust in there somewhere, but it's clean.
we're really just here to be here for Pete.
Oh yeah, as long as he's dressed nice, it's fine.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
he looks
Pete could be dressed in absolutely a clown outfit or something, and he'd still be wonderful.
like we're traveling, and Pete is like up ahead of us, and maybe he's like thank you. What?
We're all like looking where we've stepped just in case. Like, oh god.
Fast track to like, what does this gala look like? Like we know that this is a country or a nation of animals that are all kind of known for being maybe prickly or reserved. I'm expecting that there's lots of guards.
I just have this idea of like, you know how with some like festivals or galas or whatever, there'll be little people running around trying to sell you just silly stuff, right? I have this feeling like everyone would be super stoic except this one dude trying to sell us stuff. And it would be like, want to keep people away? Here, cover yourselves in sharp things. And like sell us sharp stuff, like a band around us of like keeping a separate circle away from us. Like, it's guaranteed to hurt the people around you.
Oh my goodness, I don't want to hurt anyone around me.
Oh, well then you're gonna need this. And like you like a swatter. Then you can choose when you want to hurt them.
Oh, I see. Well, it's lovely. It's really lovely. I love the color.
It's only 3 souls. You just have to sell 3 souls.
The what?
Souls?
Yeah, of your feet. The shoes that you're wearing. You don't seem to be
Oh.
wearing shoes. No one is wearing shoes.
Oh, I see. If you could Just give me one moment. I'll be right back with you. I promise. I
No
promise.
worries, I'll
I'll be
just
right back.
run it and like rustles through.
Moira runs to Puyo and Dr. Land and Summersby. It's like, I think they have some kind of trade system based on shoes. Nobody told us this before we left. I did not bring my shoes.
Just imagine
feel
like
awful.
shoes?
Did I?
on every street now. There's like just shoes everywhere.
I feel absolutely mortified. I'm thinking the stench is activated by angst. So
Oh no.
I like to introduce a little bit of chaos. So I'm gonna my action is going to be like her trying to stay calm. Sociability, disadvantage. Okay, well, for once things go Moira's way, I rolled a 6.
There you go.
So yeah, I guess that would be a 5 and then a 4. Yeah, just barely. So there's like a little bit of,
Bong.
but then she does her breathing exercises.
I mean, it's fine. We're not here to buy anything, so we don't need
That's
to
true.
give him shoes or souls or.
Yes, and it's not like we could have known beforehand.
That's true. They didn't mention it in the invitation.
God,
So really?
Are they that protective to not protective of their nation and traditions that they won't even let us know their local currency?
You're right, actually, Doctor. Yeah. That's actually quite rude now I think about it.
Also, his sales pitch needs work.
Well, to be fair, maybe we didn't read into the invitation. They are a very protective nation. We know that. It makes sense that they would protect their feet, their claws, their appendages.
They're grounded bits.
Exactly.
Yes. Now, we're at a point now that I feel like it could be fun to roll for a complication.
Chaos rules.
Yes. Does anybody want to roll for a complication?
I will gladly roll.
Okay, I will roll for the table. See which table we're using. I rolled a 1, so we're going to be using table 1.
All right, and then I will roll 2d6. Oh my god!
What?
Oh, no.
What is it?
I got the exact one I was talking about earlier.
Oh
Something
no!
important
no.
goes missing. I was joking. Peter would go missing.
No. No.
Perfect. I was literally hoping right now, no joke. I was like, we suddenly realize we cannot see Peter. Peter is nowhere to be seen.
Not that we've ever been able to see Peter.
We don't
I know. Perhaps Peter would be a little bit more knowledgeable about the situation. Peter.
He might have some shoes.
Peter would probably have shoes.
He has many feet.
Many feet,
So
yes.
many. Peter?
Peter.
They would be rather small shoes, though.
Yeah.
That's true.
Perhaps that is more valuable.
Doesn't Peter usually answer by now?
He is quite a loud fellow.
Perhaps
Wow.
we should call him by his full name. Peter Langton.
Peter Langton. Peter Love.
No. I know. And then Summersby will get their little hearing instrument and they'll put it down to the ground. I could normally hear his little tippy tappies. It's very cute.
Okay, so this would be a situation, Nadine. Sorry,
Mhm.
we're going mechanics here. Do you want to spend any points for this to be like a full success, or do you want to roll a d6?
Let's just go with a win. Let's just roll a d6.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's 2. That's not good. Peter!
No. And
There's a
what's
lot of
more-
tiny feet.
Yeah, it's like I bet like because it's a gala, there's quite a lot of people now, so you're just getting like noise.
I've underestimated how many people there are around the vicinity.
Because you rolled for luck and you got a failure, there is a negative consequence
Oh no.
that the rest of us can decide.
Do it.
So what could be a negative consequence or negative thing that happens while somebody is placing their hearing trumpet to the ground and trying to detect Peter?
It's a new spell. Detect Peter.
Detect Peter. I cast detect Peter. Because my first intuition would be like that people just stop and stare and like what the heck is this person doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gives us a collective like aura of embarrassment.
Being silently judged.
Oh no.
No.
Does
other
anyone
people's
have an
opinion.
idea of how we can overcome this complication?
Dr. Land is gonna chime in.
Ah, yes. Nothing to see here. We are simply nothing interesting to see here. We're simply looking for our lost compatriot. We are travelers from the far off land of placeholder name, and we've come to attend the gala, but I believe we've misplaced our representative.
I'm gonna spend 2 sociability, 2 points from sociability.
Okay. If you're spending points, then you are successful. But if you're spending 2, then there is a minor inconvenience.
Oh,
So
okay.
in this case, Dr. Land is successful in like maybe getting people to stop staring.
Mhm.
But there could like a minor inconvenience happens.
It couldn't just be that it's everyone has stopped staring, but now they've kind of just started talking under their breath to each other.
They've lost their representative.
Yeah, so how embarrassing.
How
Misplaced.
I wouldn't misplaced exactly. That's such an odd choice of wording. I mean, and there's like it's. I feel like it's very Jane Austen. So where you're like, oh god, they're
Your
skewering
society
us.
was damaged.
Oh no.
I'm not taking this
Um,
from a society that uses shoes as currency.
um,
Actually, I think Dr. Land might actually say that.
yes. Yes.
I just love the idea of there are just animals, like animal folk all around us, and there are like claw feet shoved into like trainers with little claws sticking out. Like
Yeah.
everyone is oddly wearing shoes because is the custom, but none of them are actually fitting.
But do they have
Feet.
souls? Because they use souls as a currency, so do these shoes still have souls?
They're like spats.
It's just
It's just a
It's
top
just
part
shoe.
of the shoe.
yeah.
It's just everybody's got these flapping bits of fabric on their claws and paws.
And like the flappier the fabric, the cooler you are.
Moira just feels increasingly mortified, embarrassed. I think I'm gonna spend some points. I'm gonna spend some to find somebody wits.
Yeah,
What do I
I
have
reckon.
most? Okay, I'm gonna spend 3 points. I'm gonna go for a total success because she's going into like a full panic mode and she wants to resolve the situation. She's going to put all her effort into. She's like got her beak to the ground and she's
Nice.
just like looking everywhere for Pete. And where does she find Pete? Where's Peter ended up? Where is he?
At like a punch bowl, like trying to lift the large.
The ladle. Just trying to see like this ladle, like.
I'm sorry, this ladle is too big for me.
Oh, Peter.
But maybe Pete is engaging in like wonderful conversation with like maybe a royal member.
Yes. It's the new monarch.
The new
It's
monarch
like it's
himself.
literally it's the new monarch. And
Of course.
somehow Jammy Peter, just super like social butterfly, social pillbug. He's just managed to stumble. It's like, hello. Could you help me with the punch? As like by the time we find him, he's already just like
Schmoozed up.
schmoozing. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
schmooze. It's like I feel like I'm kind of redundant.
No, Moira, don't be
Nonsense.
silly.
Nonsense.
We all
Yeah.
are very important
Redundant.
cogs in this clock. That's
We all
it.
bring personality, a gaggle of misfits, if you will.
Mhm.
Very charming, really.
Oh, I suppose so.
Plus, it shows off the diversity of our community.
It does. It does seem a little bit samey here, doesn't it?
Yes.
Everybody's dressed the same way. They all have that same look on their faces when they look at us.
I
You know,
feel that
subtle.
maybe
We really want to align ourselves with these people?
Maybe.
I don't know. Let us
mean,
ask Pete.
Yes. Pete seems to be getting on really well with that person wearing the big shiny thing on their head.
That's
What is
crap.
it, Doctor?
That's a crown.
Oh, is it?
Likely
it's
the
lovely.
likely the belonging to the head of the one who invited us.
Oh, look, but then Pete's doing his job. He's doing great.
I would expect nothing less from our beautiful Pete.
I guess we could like move on to the next scene because it feels like we're helping Pete by kind of letting him do his thing. We've created this kind of super pillbug, super diplomat.
Awesome.
I can't wait to have Pete in all of my future games.
Every game.
The legend of Pete shall live on.
Warren, if after the session you want to roll up stats for Pete the Pillbug, because then we can all feel the joy of playing as Pete.
Just pour all the points in sociability.
Yes, absolutely. Do we want to have another complication before like the end of the gala? So we can get, because we've overcome this first complication, so we're guaranteed an extra token. Do we want to risk it for a biscuit? Do we want to like try
Always.
another? Yeah. Do you want to roll, Nadine?
Oh, that's a bad idea. Okay.
No,
That's
do it.
responsibility.
Let's do it. Am I
Yes.
two d6?
Yes, 2d6. I will roll for the table.
Oh no. I got a 5 and a 1. So
Okay.
6 total.
A betrayal.
Oh no.
No!
Peter.
Oh no.
Peter. How does Pete betray us?
Wait, does Pete have to be the one betraying?
No,
No, not at all. I just
What if it's like there's the royal family or this new monarch kind of is the one doing the betrayal? Like
maybe.
how would that work? Like, is it kind of a oh gosh.
There wasn't
Maybe
even
they've-
one to begin with. Nobody knows.
Maybe they've invited us here to trap us here because they're super lonely and they want other community members.
Oh my goodness.
They were new friends.
There's like the moment where there's like the new monarch is like, if you'll excuse me, Peter, I just need to make a public address. And she's like, Ding, 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 ding. It's like, may I have your attention, everyone? It's like, I'm very glad you're all here. It's a pleasure to have you all here from all corners of the world. But I'm afraid that you will not be allowed to leave. This is an eternal gala. You shall entertain me for all time. Forever. I can't.
No! A betrayal!
We've been betrayed. I thought galas were supposed to end.
Traditionally.
I think they definitely do.
Usually they do.
All the windows shut. Like the main doors are all bolted, and like all the guards, and like this person goes, the princess or whatever, goes on full evil monologue. It's like we've been so lonely.
I think there might be a way how we can get out of this, though. Moira.
Okay. What? Why are you all looking at me like that? I don't think a poultice is going to help. How am I going to get us out of this pickle?
I think Summersby will like put out their wings in like a huddle motion with both Puyo and Dr. Land and be like, we're going to have to activate Plan Stink. We have to stress Moira out. Moira,
Okay.
can you imagine if we're stuck here forever?
Oh no!
We'll have to go to the toilet in front of each other.
Oh
No.
Help.
No. I don't consent to this.
Moira is.
You can find something to stuff your nose with, Dr. Land. We must.
You know, like my sense of smell is like a million times more powerful than everyone here.
His nose is so powerful. He's gonna have to like stick his head in the punch
It
bowl or
might
something.
kill
Can we make like a makeshift like nose stuffer or something, like a little rag?
You're a tinkerer.
Yeah,
Yes.
Do it.
it's not fabric though.
Create like a gas mask.
Let me just quickly.
Look through your stuff and see if you can build a gas mask for Dr. Land. Oh, no.
Just think, Moira, eternity, never being able to garden. Do you like gardening?
My garden, all the plants. If I don't water them regularly, they're all going to die.
They're all going to
All gonna
die.
wilt.
My marigolds.
Your bubble.
Oh no.
Think the
Yes, and I will-
daffodils.
Without your
Ymia.
flowers, I won't have any of my perfumes. Just think of the roses, the lavenders, the lilacs, the gardenias.
Is that where they've been going?
But
Ymia, if you
We're
want
not
to
talking
like,
about that right now.
Yeah.
if you want to spend some points or roll to see if you can make some kind of protective headgear for Dr. Land,
Yeah, I'm
because
I'm
Moira's
not
about to
gonna-
go.
I'm not gonna roll for that. I'm just gonna use my points. Make like a little dome where we can all like huddle under.
Yeah.
Except Moira.
Yeah.
What would that be? Wits or?
I think if you're tinkering, okay, so if you're using like any of your skills, then you have advantage, which means that the point cost would be reduced. So you can have a total success and spend 2 points.
Yes, and I'll use 2 points. I'll like grab together like I assume there's multiple punch bowls and just
Nice.
start like hammering until they kind of resemble a bigger shape and just strong arm it together and just go under it.
Perfect.
And this is the thing. I want Moira to fail in terms of keeping her composure.
Can you fumble your own rolls?
I guess like rule of cool would be just it happens. It's a trait. It's a natural thing. It's not intentional. It just happens. And there's like this mushroom cloud of, well, it's invisible. It's like there's like a wave. It ripples amongst all the guests at the gala. It's like people just getting woozy and fainting or crying. I'm gonna spend some stamina because it's the only thing I can think of. I'm gonna spend three points of my stamina, and it's everybody is unconscious except for the three of you. Oh,
All right, now let's scram.
how did you end up in there?
Everyone was very sad about the idea of your. I literally can't finish my sentence. I need that.
You're sleeping, darling. You're sleeping.
Oh, I suppose so. A gala can be very tiring, I've been told.
Yes, it's quite exhausting. In fact, we should probably be getting home to right now.
Okay.
They like
Just
come out of the door.
beelining it.
So, okay, so I think this is like the natural conclusion in the sense that if this has gone
Was
well,
Pete with us?
I didn't want to mention it. It was going to be like a stinger. It's like, wait a minute, where's Pete?
The betrayal was us all along.
We betrayed Peter. He can find his way. He can find his way back.
We get like halfway home, completely sad, and Peter goes, "Well, that was a bust."
Oh, we didn't forget you were here at all.
I
Really?
knew you were there all along.
You don't want to put more adjectives on that? Like a spectacular
Okay.
stinktacular bust?
Well, we did go to the gala. I suppose we did represent our community.
That we did.
Does that count as a success? It doesn't feel like a success to me, though.
Darling, I don't think anyone won in that interaction.
Well, maybe we'll hear. We can write to them. We can write to them and say sorry, and maybe we can catch up in a different situation.
Let's not tie this back to us. As far as we know, we never gave our names or we never really introduced her, so they don't know who we are, from where we are. There's a lot of countries places that were there right now, so you don't need to know.
I thought you were going to suggest that we blame it on Pete. They don't know who we are.
they never saw Pete.
They never saw Pete. It's true.
They don't know where Pete's from. They just know there was a very charismatic pillbug at that party.
Exactly.
Who tried to drink the punch. So what that means is, in terms of like endgame situation, is that if we're considering this task not a success, then we don't get a token for the task. But because we overcame 2 complications, we still get tokens for them. So that instead of us having 3 tokens and being able to already get an addition to our community, we have 2. But swings and roundabouts. You win some, you lose some. We've all learned some valuable lessons, which is mostly that the people from the Shell Nation are a little bit odd. Yeah, the shoe thing really is still perplexing Moira.
Still perplexing me, and I said it.
I agree with you, Dr. Land. I think any society that would have such kind of practice. I mean, I don't want to judge other cultures. Far be it from me.
But I shall.
But I shall in this situation because some of them gave me some very rude looks and nobody told me why. I'm sure somebody said downwind, and I have no idea what that could mean. It's just very rude.
Sometimes I admire and envy your innocence.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. Yeah, kind of. I think a very fittingly bizarre adventure for this particular group of people. We unfortunately we can't get an addition to the community this time, but were we to continue with this group at a later date, then we would have other opportunities. We would have other tasks, and maybe those will fare a little bit better. But who knows? I guess to wrap up, do we have any ideas for a community name? What will we be known as in the Shell
Upwind
Nation?
Fellows.
Yeah, so that was a session of Come Rain, Come Shine. I hope everyone here has enjoyed it. I had a wonderful time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for playing. And yeah, bye bye. I guess this feels very anticlimactic.